Today we chat with Vlada Acimovic. He is a certified passive house designer, engineer of architecture, and an engineer of energy efficiency in buildings. Vlada grew up in Belgrade, Serbia, where he fulfilled his childhood dream of becoming an architect and went on to win first place in 4 commercial architecture awards. He and his family moved to New Zealand in 2016. Vlada shares with us some of his experience after 3 decades of designing high-performance buildings and passive houses. Welcome to the Clima New Zealand podcast. Clima inspires and educates people to create healthy, durable, and energy-efficient buildings. Welcome this morning, Vlada. How's your day going so far?
Thanks. Day was going quite good, except I was stuck in traffic coming from North Shore. Generally, it's nice being here and so having that discussion with you today.
That's something you have to get used to, isn't it? Traffic in Auckland, there's no end to it.
Yeah, so that's one of the challenges.
So Vlada, tell us, whereabouts did you grow up in the world?
I grew up in Serbia, Belgrade. Belgrade is capital of Serbia, and it was a capital of Yugoslavia. It's 2 million population, similar size to Auckland. And yeah, so I enjoyed playing some sports and thinking about my future profession, and so from early childhood I was linked to architecture.
That's really cool. So you knew from a young age that architecture was where you wanted to go and what you wanted to do.
Yeah, so you may say this actually. So I had that story, probably not 100% clear, but that was something I was just exploring in my childhood. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And what prompted you to move to New Zealand?
It happened probably 7 years ago when I was approached by a company from New Zealand. They were and still leaders in passive house design, and they offered me position here in New Zealand, and so then I spent in that company 3 years as a head of design. Yeah.
So just to introduce our audience to passive house, can you give us a brief overview of passive house design and some of its core principles?
Yeah, so passive house design is something new maybe here in New Zealand, but it exists more than 30, 40 years. And passive house standard itself was introduced by Dr. Wolfgang Feist from Passive House Institute in Darmstadt in Germany. And he is a physicist, and probably he knew how to set up some principles and make things more efficient. Generally, passive house principles are in terms of having super insulated envelope, to have airtight construction, high performance glazing in windows, trying to minimize or ideally zero thermal bridges, and also all of those things couldn't work without having heat recovery ventilation. These are 5 major principles of passive house design and passive house standards. So we have number of houses in Central Europe, also in United States, and so what we can see kind of breakthrough with the last few years here in New Zealand, a number of passive houses is increasing, and I hope there will be more and more.
And how did you first become interested in passive house design?
Um, we're talking about a couple of decades, and my first interest in sustainable design started with LEED certification, which is similar to Green Star buildings, which is holistic. And after having trainings, uh, I came across to passive house design, and since that was something I really liked, quite predictive, exact with numbers, and you know that your house or your design will perform exactly as it was designed, which is a great feature. So passive house is absolutely accurate, and you can have full control of your design from early stage. So that was reason I just started being more interested in passive house design.
So, what are some of the common challenges that you face when designing a passive house, and how would you address them?
Actually, there are some challenges which are more outside of my work. So those challenges are more connected to the client's expectation or client's education, also with some of the consultants. But after a couple of decades in passive house and sustainable and energy efficient design, I don't have any personal challenges. So when doing passive house design, it's more about how to educate people that you are working with, or you are working for. So that's more challenge. But so in terms of technical issues, so it's quite simple and easy procedure.
So, what would you say are some of the common misconceptions or myths around passive house, especially when speaking with clients here in New Zealand?
Yeah, just I would mention maybe a couple of those misconceptions. Firstly, discussion on construction cost. There is a narrative that passive house construction costs 2-3 times more than conventional houses, which is absolutely just a myth. So we can speak about just cost premium, but maybe between 15 and 20%, depending on the design complexity, and that's all. So we have a new building code H1 upgrade, where we can see that gap between performances and required insulation is not so big as it was. And in terms of those new requirements, we can see that cost difference is not so massive, So that's one of the most common misconceptions. Also, something that is highly important to New Zealanders, it's that feeling that they have fresh air, and most of the people who didn't have time to explore passive house, they believe that you cannot open windows because it's airtight construction, so with mechanical ventilation. But the truth is absolutely different. So you can open windows whenever you like, and it's not gonna just affect any performances. But the question mark is that, so if you have such a sophisticated ventilation systems with air filtration, and so with great comfort, so there is a question mark why you would open windows if you already have fresh air inside.
And what are the long-term cost benefits of building a house like this?
Uh, this is the area where people are just trying just to find the answer. So, and I saw a number of different studies saying what is perfect payback period, But I'm not expert in that area, What we can say that probably it will be around 20 years, but what's more important, you can see from the beginning that your power bills will reduce significantly, and the amount of energy for heating or cooling. Cooling energy is highly important to warm climate. New Zealand is in warm climate. That's highly important when doing passive house design. But going back to your question, so maybe payback period is around 20 years, but there are some benefits. We know that there is a global policy on climate changes, and it's a great feeling that we know investing a little bit in superior performances of our houses. So we will provide better future to our families, to our kids, and to world in general.
So, what role would you say that materials and construction techniques play in achieving the passive house standard?
So every time when we start doing design, we know what standard we are targeting. That's one of the first step in every design procedure. Once we have clearly identified standard we want to achieve, so we have PHPP tool, and which is a sophisticated software, and we can analyze every possible material and combination of materials in combination with types of construction. So which means that we can have clear idea what will perform better and what will perform to provide performances we targeted. So there are always clear numbers, and we can use almost any material.
So, we've been talking about new buildings, but it's possible to do this as a renovation as well, isn't there?
Yes, so I would say that that's a great market for NFIT, especially due to a number of existing houses that performing not so good, or to be fair to say that with poor performances, and that's the something which is official standard passive house NFIT. But again, so we can use all of those principles to reconstruction of the existing houses and to improve performances. And I think so there is a great possibility of this market just for that activity here.
Awesome. Now, we're seeing quite a growth of smart home technologies in our homes these days. How do you see these smart home components being able to benefit passive houses?
So we can use smart technologies in any type of construction and standards. What's the good cohabitation between passive house designs and buildings with smart technologies? You can control some features of your house remotely, such external shutters or roll blinds, in order to control solar gains and just to control the air temperature inside the house, inside of the thermal envelope. So this is one of the features where you can benefit the using smart technologies.
So when you sit down with a client, how do you go around or about educating them on the benefits and the considerations around a passive house?
One of the first questions is, what do you expect from your house? What aspects of your future home are most important to you? And once we come to the energy efficiency, it's easy to explain why passive house is champion, because we know that it's arguably the highest possible standard in energy efficiency, but it's not always easy to explain that story, But when I explain my clients that house in Auckland, passive house in Auckland will perform 5, 6 to 7 times better than new code house, or that maybe passive house in Queenstown will perform 10 or 11 times better than conventional house, you can see reactions from the client, and they say, so how we can get, is it expensive, is it achievable, is it buildable? And these are all aspects that we can start discussing as a next step.
And what would you say is the major pushback or resistance that you get from clients when discussing this design?
These are some, I would say, prejudice, and linked to our previous discussion about those misconceptions, mostly related to the construction cost and some other things such, natural ventilation. And mostly it's related to construction costs. And sometimes we have some crazy numbers saying that we should pay, I don't know, $10,000 to $12,000 per square meter, or there are some crazy stories that it will cost significantly less, so 2,500, and so that those opponent stories sometimes are just making clients, quite, concerned what they can expect, and so no one wants to see some crazy numbers. It kills, the enthusiasm, and it kills, someone's, expectation. So mostly it's challenges are mostly related to the construction cost issues.
Now, you've spent many, many years designing passive houses, and I understand that you've developed a course which you're offering to architects and tradespersons. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, it's a course which is it's a high performance design course, and it's related to some practical aspects of energy efficient design. And I would say everyone will be welcome to that course, starting from architects, from designers, students, and builders as well. And what's the story behind that course, which will start probably early February? We know there is a number of courses related to passive house design, sustainable design, or other standards, and mostly based on theoretical knowledge. And from my experience, I met a number of my colleagues and people who are in this industry who can speak quite competent in the way of building physics, just telling story about heating demand, heating load, air tightness, etc., etc. So, but when we come to the practicality, there is always an issue, and people are struggling how to start design, what materials to use, how to avoid issues with compliance, because there is a discussion about alternative solutions, which is still a big challenge here. Also, how to position the house, and some technical aspects. And so what I found that's a big gap between theoretical and practical knowledge, and we need some more practical knowledge in order to minimize some issues or to make our design more efficient, not only in terms of the performances. And there was a quote by Confucius who said that we need more knowledge, and what he said, that knowledge without practice is useless, and practice without knowledge is dangerous. That's something that we would try to avoid, and the reason I intended, or I'm going to run that course, is just to support our profession, and that course consists of 2 parts.
So what are the 2 parts? Can you?
So there will be just a basic course and the advanced course. So the part number 1 will consist of some things with more information about energy efficient design techniques, about recent H1 changes, critical points in our design, combining materials in the way that will provide better performances. Also comparison of code and passive house design with examples, and with some also analyzing the different construction types. So that will be mostly part 1. Part 2 will go more deep into every aspect of passive house or energy efficient design, because when we are talking about passive house and energy efficient design, what's the difference? If we go for passive house design and we intend to have certified house, there is a set of procedure. When we are working on high performance standards, so that doesn't mean that that house needs to be certified, but we can apply all aspects of passive house design. Ideally, every high performance house should be passive house, but you have clients with different expectations, and also with limited budgets, so that's something that we have to take into account. Anyway, so going back to that story, so we will go deep into every of those aspects. Also, there will be a workshop where we will explain how we can easily transform existing house to Enerfit or code house, new one, with some simple solutions to transform into super performing, or in a perfect case, Passive House standard. That will be the advanced course. That will be the number 2.
Excellent. And going forward in New Zealand, how do you see the broader New Zealand construction industry moving towards a higher standard? How do you see that developing at this stage?
I would say that we are still in slow mode, but what is encouraging, that we can see more and more interest in Passive House and increasing number of certified houses. There is a great potential in commercial building area, in public buildings area. Currently, we can see number of the Passive House designs related to the residential objects. But as I was saying, it's encouraging, and I hope there will be more and more in the future. Also, there are some, if we want to achieve better results, there are some things that we have to work together in terms of education and educating students, builders, clients will bring results soon, and I really believe that. So we need to just focus on the education in case we want to make some good results in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Vlada.
Yeah, thank you very much. So it was my pleasure. Yeah.
Great. Sharing knowledge is at the heart of our strategy to make buildings better for everyone. Sign up for our podcast to learn more about creating healthy living conditions by protecting structures from external and internal moisture damage. Thanks for listening. Looking forward to having you with us next time.